is to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our financial report with Mr. Ray.
Everybody should have in their digital report packet, the December financial reports for all three funds. Again, nothing too exciting or alarming to report. Everything's occurring as it should and as it's, for the most part, budgeted. I do have a budget amendment to bring after this, but federal projects, we're collecting money in a timely manner. Cafeteria fund, we have a $31,000 surplus at December 30th, so we're in good shape there. I always look for the surplus to be about what we get in commodities, and that's USDA free food, and that should be around 50,000. So I kind of look for our surplus to be about that amount. Any questions?
All right. Any questions for Mr. Ray concerning our financial report for the month of December? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or comments for Mr. Ray? Hearing none. Kim, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Kimberly Meredith,
Yes.
Lori Wilson,
Yes.
Tim Boppel,
Yes.
Merle Price,
Yes.
Joey Smith,
Yes.
Curtis Isbell.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to budget amendment number 4.
In your board packet, you should have 3 pages for the budget amendment. A memo from me is the first page, a summary page that just summarizes every budget amendment that we've had by fund. And then the third page is just the detail for the budget amendment. So we'll skip to the third page, which is the detail. I kind of presented it in a different fashion, trying to keep it a little more organized. Rather than just throw 15 lines at you. So the first part is just the revenue, adjusted revenues, and I've tried to give a little description of what's going on. Adjusting revenues for what we anticipate would be the year-to-date actual. I guess we can point out that TISA outcomes funding. We've accounted for that in this budget amendment, and that was 94,000 and change. And Kelly can comment about more what goes into that, but I will just say that it's probably a reward for doing good stuff.
It is.
Okay.
So part of the outcome money is they give us a certain percentage bump for every child who is proficient on third grade TCAP. And we also get reward money for every child who was not proficient on third grade, but then became proficient in fourth grade. And so that's some pretty good chunk of money for us to have for our small district for outcome money. So we are very thankful for that.
I just, the contributions and gifts, I just adjusted it from a cost center in and out, so that is kind of a nil effect there. And then when we start the expenditures, I did the student body program. That's kind of your Blaze. And most of our Blaze resides in 71,400, which is the function. Again, I've accounted for, there was a church that donated us money, and we keep some set aside to help students in need. I've adjusted that to kind of reflect what's actually going on year over year. And then, excuse me, the other line item is that we're increasing is other supplies. With all the activities that we have, there's a lot going on. Right now, I would say we're probably plus or minus $5,000 within breaking even in our Blaze programs between fees and donations. And so it's, for the most part, a self-sustaining activity at this point. So that's great for our community. The next section is your expenditures. Tried to do it in order: regular ed teachers, support staff, and so forth, just ins and outs to adjust salaries, where I think they're gonna land. And that is just due to what we anticipate at the beginning of the year doesn't always transpire, with retirements and pregnancies and things of that nature. One thing I noticed is a trend is our health insurance. I think we're having more people come aboard, and the cost per person is ever increasing. So I've had to adjust for that as well. What we do is we at the beginning of the year, the school year, we tell the employee, this is your rate for your health insurance. And we honor that commitment throughout the year, but the rate goes up in January, in the middle of the year. Well, we eat that because we honored our commitment. That's one of the reasons that it's increased here. The next section is just increasing and decreasing some non-payroll related expenditures. There's no one significant item that caused that. It's just a few little ones. All in all, when you get down to the very bottom line, we've increased expenditures by $95,000 net, and we've increased revenue by $127,000. So we're funding the increase, and we're actually using that to increase our fund balance by $32,000, our budgeted fund balance. Any questions about the budget amendment? And if you have questions down the road.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve budget amendment number 4 as presented.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or comments for Mr. Ray? Hearing none, Kim, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Kimberly Meredith,
Yes.
Lori Wilson.
Yes.
Tim Bobble.
Yes.
Merle Price.
Yes.
Joey Smith.
Yes.
Curtis Isbell.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to our internal school funds audit.
Hey, Scott, because it will need an approval, but before you go into the audit, can you just briefly tell them anything and highlight on the CDs that you want to highlight, if there's anything you do want to highlight, and if you don't, that's fine too.
Now we have, just to kind of go over, certificates of deposit, Knoxville Teachers Federal Credit Union for $250,000, ORNL for $250,000. Local Government Investment Pool, which is not a bank. It's run by the Treasurer or Secretary's Treasury Department of Tennessee. And we had an initial investment of $500,000 in there for our excess cash. And $2.6 million is still with the city. And we're gonna slowly kind of roll that back onto our side. But we're doing well, obviously, with the interest rates. You can see the certificate of deposit at Knoxville Teachers Credit Union. I've not recognized any interest because it hasn't hit the statement yet. Once it matures, it'll hit the statement. I'm just trying to reflect what's on that statement. It's a conservative way to measure it. ORNL, we have 257. There's a typo there. Sorry. It shouldn't be 250, it should be 257. So we've gotten about half of our anticipated interest that's actually hit the statement. Local Government Investment Pool, I've highlighted, we made about $14,000 since May for that investment. All in all, we're paying for about a teacher and a half in positions with our interest revenue, which isn't bad. We've not had to pull any money out to pay bills, so our cash flow and our funding throughout the year is supporting our operations, even the playground. There's no capital projects that I anticipate that we can't use our current funding for, current cash flow. If something big comes up, then we might have to dive into this side. Any questions about the cash? I still have authorization to do, I think, 2 more banks and CDs. I want to get that money from the city and use that at this point. Any questions? You should have a paper copy of the internal school funds. I didn't want to post this online because I've taken a document and copied pages and tried to synthesize some stuff for you. And that's why I've given you a hard copy. The bound copy is going to be available. I have it digitally, and Kelly can email it to everyone. And it's also going to be on the comptroller's website, so the public will have access to it. So the first page is Clinton Elementary School, and that's the balance sheet. You can see I got $27,000 in cash. Of that $27,000 in cash, $11,000 sits in the general fund. That's kind of like Jenna's control over that money, and designates kind of what happens with that. Below that is your restricted funds. And so Jenna doesn't have control over that. Those are restricted to the purpose of each activity. So they're roughly half and half. Nothing that is going on there that causes me to have any questions. The next page is the income statement for Clinton Elementary, and we've really tried to get administrative expense to be one of the lower expenses in the fund. So it'll be this page. It says page 12 at the top, and they've done a good job at Clinton Elementary. It tells you the first general fund section is more like an income statement you'd have for your business, revenues and expenses. When you have a restricted fund within the internal school funds, everything kind of just comes in and out of the fund. It's in and out. So there's no what kind of expense, like administrative or classroom fees. It's just revenue and expense, and that's how you report it. So nothing really drastic to report. They're doing what they should be doing. North Clinton has $32,000 in cash. $22,000 is unassigned, so that is kind of, Monica has that, and I'm assuming she's probably got plans for that. You know, you build that up, and especially at North, it takes a little time to do that. You got to save for the rainy day, and she's doing a good job of that. So if you look at her expenses, her administrative expense is $288. So the majority of their money is going to kids and teachers that are directly affecting.
Are we saying Monica's lower maintenance than Jenna Sharp? Is
I'm
that what
not
we're
saying that, but since you just said it, I mean, we'll let them decide.
I try to get you all to pay for everything.
Yeah, she does do that.
I don't like when these come out and you see how much.
But, you know, she's doing exactly what she should be doing. The next page is South Clinton's balance sheet. It says page 15 at the top. Leanna has $24,000 in cash. Approximately 20 of that is unassigned. So again, I think she's kind of in the same boat as Monica. She's probably got some plans in the back of her mind, but it's not so large that anybody's going to start pointing fingers that you need to spend that down. So we don't need to be there. I'm a big believer in rewarding excellence, and when you have a healthy fund balance, it shouldn't be you're punished for that, which tends to be what happens. You should be rewarded for it. And the board does a good job of funding each school in addition to the regulatory requirements through DEP. And then the next page is the income statement for South Clinton. You can see her administrative expense is $693. It is the lowest expense in the general fund, which is where it should be. So everybody's doing what they should be doing with the internal school funds. We had a few written findings, very similar to what we had last year. Last year, my remediation was to just kind of consult with the school level bookkeepers. This year, we're going to have a meeting with the school level bookkeepers in April, and a half a day with Scotty Ray, and Then at the beginning of next year, we're gonna meet with the teachers at each school and talk about their roles and duties to make all this come together, because they have a role to play. They have a lot on their plate, but they're still gonna follow the rules.
Basically, it's still the 3-day.
Right.
The 3-day and then POs, getting POs
Purchase
prior to
orders.
purchase. There was a couple of times. That makes it hard too when a teacher is out and sees something they need for their classroom and it's a weekend. You know, it's just easy for them to pick it up instead of waiting till Monday, getting a PO and then going back to wherever they were to get it, so.
So if it's Friday and I'm gonna go to Walmart, and I think, oh, I'm gonna spend $50. And I go to Walmart and spend $50. And then I'm at Kohl's and I go to School Supply, which I think is closed, but there was one right there, and I spend $75. Individually, I'm under 100, which is the purchase order requirement. But collectively, I'm at $125. Should have opened up a PO, and that would be a fine. That tends to happen. And I'm not gonna. And they're doing what's best for the school. The principal approves it, even if it's retroactive. It's an approved expenditure. They just didn't follow the process. But that doesn't mean something shady's going on. Any questions about internal school funds?
All right.
I think the teacher training, what we're going to focus on, and the additional piece that we're going to add is making sure that, you know, and Merle can attest to this, but when you're a teacher and you're collecting room fees or field trip monies while you're doing attendance, while you're doing absences, while parents are in the room talking to you, while you're trying to get kids settled, you know, that collection sheet basically is a balance sheet that has to match the receipt, which has to match the money that was actually deposited. And, you know, sometimes with everything just going on, there is an error there. So one of the things that we're wanting to put into place as part of teacher checkout is that the teacher actually sits down with the principal and the bookkeeper, and we reconcile her collection sheet with her receipt book, with what the bookkeeper has, to make sure everything is aligned for the year. And so that will be part of what we implement for next year, because there were a few, not major discrepancies, but enough to where we need to provide training on that. And that basically is just human error, trying to run a classroom and manage your finances at the same time.
It's unfortunate they call it a written finding, but it's kind of like in the banking world. You want to have a certain amount of bad loans. Otherwise, your loan policy is too strict and you're missing out on revenue. I look at it the same way. I want to have a few things that maybe doesn't line up perfectly, because you're efficient in that way. And I think we're efficient. We can just maybe tweak a little bit, just reduce these a little bit. We're not going to get rid of them. I don't think we need to go to that level. It's not cost beneficial. But there's nothing that I think we need to be concerned about. The next packet is the Board of Ed audit.
I think we need
Let's
to
see.
approve
Let's
this one
go ahead.
first.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Any further questions on our internal school audit for Mr. Ray? All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the internal school audit as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we can move on into our board.
All right, and if you think I'm giving you a lot of favor, the whole document's 300 pages, so I've synthesized it for you guys. So the first page that you see here is your balance sheet. And the columns that I've hid from you is, the first column was the city's general purpose fund, which has no bearing on this conversation, and some budget and variance for that. So what we're looking at is the general purpose school fund, GP money, your assets, cash and cash equivalents. So cash and then I've told you what makes up each number. So of that $3 million in cash equivalents, we have the $500,000 in CDs, $503,000, remember this is at June 30th, $3,000 in local government investment pool, and then our operating cash, $2 million. Think of that as what we use to pay the bills of Regions. Investments restricted is $151,000. What that represents is what's called the SRT and TCRS, Stability Reserve Trust. Tennessee Consolidated Retirement. Your hybrid employees, which was called newer since 2013, they are in a different plan than legacy teachers are before 2013. And there's a trust that's been set up, mandatory by the state, and they use that trust to build up when we're having good times and keep the contribution rate flat. And then when the times aren't so good, keeping the contribution level flat, they use that trust to fill that gap until times get better again. So that's what represents that. That's not really an investment we can spend. We do not have access to that money. The $1,400 in prepaid items is the U-Trust premiums for unemployment. In lieu of paying state unemployment tax to the state of Tennessee's Department of Labor, we pay the trust. The trust pays all our claims for unemployment. So we just paid that in June for the subsequent year, so it's a prepaid, it's an asset. Due from other funds, $2.8 million. 2.6 is the cash with the city. So that's not showing up in cash and cash equivalents for us because it's really, the city is holding that. So it's due from the city to us. It's a current asset. Sorry. And then due, $186,000 is due from the federal projects funds. Remember, we have to spend the money in the federal projects fund. We apply for reimbursement, and we get that, and that can take 45 to 60 days. So as of June 30th, they owed us $186,000. Property tax, due from other governments, $329,000. I've listed those out, some property tax and some sales tax, for a total of $828,000. That's our BP, some miscellaneous property taxes, and 3 months of sales tax. That's pretty standard every year. Property tax receivable, you look at that and you're thinking, they owe us $2.4 million. Not really. If you turn the page, there's our liability side of the balance sheet. And if you go to deferred inflows of resources, which is a fancy way of saying it's kind of like a liability, there's $2.4 million. So they've recognized that we have this property tax receivable, and then there's a liability that says, well, wait a minute, we can't really recognize that as revenue, so it sits on the balance sheet. And I've given you some language here that talks about that. Basically, the legal date that they assess is January 1st. And then the tax notices go out in October. And that is meant to finance the subsequent year. That's all that means. That number on the front should be very close to our budgeted revenues this year for property taxes, and it is. Because this $2.4 million is meant to finance 23-24. It can get confusing. So that takes care of all our assets. Next page is your liabilities. Accounts payable is just what we owe as of 6/30 to vendors, $141,000, $733,000 in accrued liabilities. It's basically payroll for our teachers that we pay them in July, but they earned it as of June 30th. They earned it in May. And all the taxes and TCRS and health insurance that goes with that. So it's kind of a good measure. What is our monthly cost of labor? It's about $733,000. It's a good figure to kind of look at. When I first started here, I think we were just shy of $500,000. Due to other funds, so GP, federal, money goes back and forth. So we have a net of 244 that is due to the cafeteria and 126 that is due to the city for a debt payment. Some years I make it in June, some years I make it in July. So the one number you all want to know is our fund balance. Dr. Bob was like, get to it. Education, if you look at the 161,000 in restricted, that's your SRT money, that 150,000 I was telling you about, and some scholarship money that we have. That 5.5 million is our fund balance. So when somebody says, what's your fund balance? 5.5 million as of June 30th. And remember, you can't spend your fund balance, you can spend cash. And there's some differences between, but I think we're at 5.8 million in cash. And, but the cash balance I just gave you is as of December 30th. So. The next page is, we have our $5.5 million in fund balance. Now what's our debt? Our debt, unlike a traditional for-profit entity, is not on our balance sheet. And it's really the city's debt, but we owe, at June 30th, $1.2 million, that's at the very bottom. Of our 5.5 fund balance, that's debt to equity ratio of 22%. We're outstanding. We will not need to borrow money, bar another addition that's pretty big, or a huge roofing project. I can't see that need right now. Joe, do you have a question?
No.
No.
Huge roofing project. How huge?
What's that?
How huge a roofing project would that be?
I know we have some issues at Clinton, but that's not, no, we're paying cash for that and moving on. There's nothing that's on our radar in our 5-year plan that we're not gonna pay cash for. That includes the auditorium. Yeah, I know, I should have said that. So the next page is, this is what's produced in the financial statement from the city. This is their debt. And what I've done is highlighted what's ours. You've got the school improvement loan. I think it was originally $1 million in 2020, so that would be Clinton Elementary's addition. And we now owe $728,000. Theoretically, that's sitting in cash. We didn't spend it. And then the next line item where I've drawn those arrows, that loan is bad debt. Let's just face it. It's debt that's been refinanced. It's debt for our portion, when I've drawn the arrows, our portion of that larger amount was used to finance the West Wing. And that was done in 99, 2000. So they've refinanced it in 2013. So they just kicked that can down the road. Usually what that's an indicator of somebody was experiencing some financial difficulty at some point in time, because in that period, we did not have vast interest rate fluctuations. So they were trying to reduce their cash flow to pay debt. So the only way to do that is to make it go more months, more years. So I'm assuming at that time, there was some problems financially, but they've been resolved, and that's where we are. The other two are some energy efficiency loans, very small, and I think the rate was 0.75% on those. So we'd borrow that money every day at that rate, and we only owe, for the two loans, $50,000. Any questions on our debt? And I'll speed it up for the income statement. So the next page is our general purpose school fund income statement. We'll go to the bottom 3 lines. Our net change in fund balance, third column, is $392,000. So we paid for probably 3/4 of South Clinton's addition, cash expense, and we still had a surplus. So we did pretty well for the year. I'll point out to you there's really no huge budget variances. That's pretty much it on the income statement. You can see that our property tax revenue, our actual should be close to that property tax I was talking about on the assets and liabilities on the balance sheet. The other page is your non-major funds, which is federal projects, school cafeteria, and they actually bring in the internal school funds now into the board, into the city audit as a special revenue fund. And the balance sheet and the income statement for those, I won't go over the detail.
But the best news is that we did not receive any.
We did not receive any findings on the Board of Ed side, and that is the side that, I mean, ultimately, Chris and Gail and myself, we have the kind of the power to stop that from happening. And we did, Gail and Chris did a really good job. They help out a lot, so. Any questions? I know it's a lot, but it's a lot of money.
There's no doubt you were having the most fun in this room.
Oh, I know.
For the past 20 minutes, you have had the most fun.
And in my mind, you guys are all like, yes, we want more. And I know that's probably not true.
The presentation was very clear and easy to understand. I appreciate it.
Like the
As overwhelming as the numbers can be.
Yeah.
All right. Any further questions or comments from Mr. Ray? All right. Yeah. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve our Board of Education audit as presented.
Motion to approve?
Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We have no new business, so we'll move on into reports and information.
Okay, we'll let our principals give our school reports this evening. Miss Monica, you want to head up since you're sitting on the end?
So we have, last time we were at school board, the next day we were out of school for 2 weeks. So I'm just wondering what the,
No.
okay, well, just wanted to check and see. Just kidding. I let in a little bit with that because our PLCs for the last couple of weeks have been adjusting our pacing to get everything taught and all of our standards in, either by testing for the tested grades or by the end of the year. On a little bit of a lighter note, ET STEMU Playground is open. Students are on a rotating schedule to be playing on the blue playground regularly. We normally would just say, you know, these grade levels play on these. We've got to have a little equity in playground usage. So thanks again to Mark Trout, Clinton Rotary, and for their donations, and to Sean Humphrey for overseeing the project. It's been really wonderful. Coming up in February, we have class pictures on the 12th. We actually had parent conferences tonight. And our class pictures day on the 12th is the kickoff to our Kindness Week. Ms. Wilson is our school counselor, and she's put this together, and it will include some dress-up days and some kindness challenges to complete each day. So students know that making the effort is just as rewarding as the one receiving the kindness. Cannot wait to celebrate Drews Overton, our speech-language pathologist, is our North Clinton Teacher of the Year on the 15th at the Teacher of the Year luncheon. And we have a new teacher, Peyton Tippett, and our retired and out of retirement, Janie Jackson, librarian, are heading up the Read Day Committee this year, and they've got a lot of fun things planned for Read Day, for Read Week. And so there's going to be a book character set of dress-up days, and will culminate on the end on March 1st with guest readers coming in to read to students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Bonesteel?
I'm a little OCD and this is turned a different way. Can I fix it?
You can fix it.
I need it to be like it's supposed to be. So on January 30th, we met to hold RTI meetings, and due to us being out of school for almost 2 weeks, there weren't a lot of data points for us to look at, but we still looked at what data we had to make sure that our kids were in the right places and that our interventions were being successful. And on the 30th, we also had a leadership team meeting, and we have implemented community groups this year at South Clinton where all the students are mixed up into 6 different communities, and we have Fun Fridays where we do fun activities and just relationship building activities with the kids every week. So I had gotten some feedback on the mid-year survey that I sent to my staff that they really loved the communities, but they wanted to see some things done differently so we can make it a little smoother and streamline it. So we talked about how we can improve on our Fun Fridays and also how we can build some stronger relationships within each community. But it's really neat to see teachers interacting with kids that they normally wouldn't be able to interact with. And we have everybody's in on it. Our occupational therapists and physical therapists come on Friday mornings to play games with their communities. So it's just a really neat thing to see. On February 2nd, we had our monthly assembly where we recognized our students of the month for January. And our staff member of the month was Miss Kim Harrell. She's one of our instructional assistants. And Miss Kim is probably one of the hardest working people that I know. She gets there early. She's probably one of the first ones in the building. And she works hard to make sure that all her kids grow, and she takes her job seriously. So we were very proud of her for getting our South Clinton Staff Member of the Month award. On February 6th, teachers brought back their plans to PLCs for how they were going to make up some lost time from the instructional days that we lost during those snow days. And also that same day, we had our representative from East Tennessee Children's Hospital come and observe our AED medical response drill to give us some feedback. And she said we did a great job. They took some footage that they're going to post on their social media platforms. So that was good to hear that we're doing things the right way. Because in an emergency, we want to make sure that we're following all the right protocols. So it's good to get feedback from somebody else. On the 13th, we will have group pictures, and on the 15th, next Thursday, will be our parent conference night. And I also would like to say congratulations to Miss Laura Roop, who is our South Clinton Elementary School Teacher of the Year, and it is well-deserved. And we look forward to celebrating her at the Teacher of the Year luncheon.
Thank you, Ms. Bonesteel. Ms. Sharp, is it going to be you or you coming up today?
I didn't hear what you said.
I didn't know if it was you or Abby was giving the report today, so.
Either way. Okay. A lot of the things that I was going to talk about tonight, you've already heard. We met as a system-wide team to talk about instruction loss. And so on the 30th, we had a meeting after school to kind of talk to the teachers about some strategies, what they could do to make up some of that time. And so our PLCs this week have been spent listening to their plans. They have been so intentful with those. We were very impressed today, but we don't worry as much now that we do have a plan moving forward. And next week they're going to bring part of their plan and kind of show us what they did and how that's impacting students. So while we were out for snow on the 23rd, a film crew from NIET came and they interviewed some of our teachers. And I know that you all know we have been nominated for the Founders Award, which to me is a testament to the system work that we've done, not just Clinton Elementary School, but one of the people there was interviewing with Lauren Murphy, and he said, I know exactly why I came to this school and this school system. He said sometimes we go and we leave and we're like, why were we even there? But he said he could tell from talking to everyone that, you know, it was our passion, the kids come first, and that, you know, we're working really hard with this partnership to implement the good stuff. So I wanted to brag on them. And, you know, just like I said, us being nominated for the Founders Award, we are so honored. And I thought we were one of 9 schools in the country, but we're one of 5, which makes it even more special. But we truly do believe in this work, so we're excited to share what we've been doing. We'll be gone the 28th through March 1st to the conference in Dallas for that. On the 29th at Clinton Elementary School, we will be having STEM night. On March 1st, we'll have Read Day, so if any of you all want to come and read to our kiddos, I know that they would love that. On the March 7th, we'll have parent conferences, and on the 28th, the commissioner is coming to Clinton Elementary School, and I would love for you all to be there. So, thank you.
28th of March.
28th of March, the
Yes.
commissioner's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you looked at all the press releases of the NIET, the five schools, Clinton Elementary was listed first. Now, NIET may think that they did that because it was in alphabetical order, but we're pretty convinced that they did that because we're going to win the award and that we were top-notch. So that's kind of the story that we're going to stick to. That concludes our reports.
All right. All righty, moving on, we'll go to our director's report.
Okay, if my fingers will work here, I'll give you all a copy of some updates. As you know, we talked to, Ms. Sharp did a great job of talking about the NIET award. This definitely came as a surprise. Our work with NIET has been one of the most, I think the principals will tell you, it's been one of the most intense, positive relationships and job-embedded professional development that we have ever done. We have truly learned a lot. We are seeing that it is filtering down to our children. When you walk into classrooms, we're seeing an increase in the scores with some of our math implementation grant. Our math scores looked really good mid-year. The work has been hard. The work has been messy. It has taken all of us out of our comfort box, but that is how we grow and that is how we get better. So with our philosophy of continuous improvement. When this award came out, we worked with a lady named Keely Potter, and she was really struggling because she really knew that it really is a Clinton City Schools award. But part of the stipulations for the award is that you cannot give it to a district, even as small as they are. It has to go to a school. So Clinton Elementary School is definitely carrying the banner for North and South as well, but the work that is happening at Clinton is deeply embedded into North and South as well. So all of the good things that are going to be recognized through whether we win this grant or whether we just stay a nominee, just be assured that that is happening in all three schools and that that all three principals and teachers are working very, very hard and are well-deserved. As you know, the commissioner had to cancel her trip because of the snow, and so we've rescheduled that for March the 28th. That will be at 10 o'clock in Clinton Elementary School gym. We would love for all of you all to be there if your schedules will allow. Wanted to also let you know that we are partnering with Junior Achievement again this year for our week-long BizTown camp. It's going to be held the first week of June. This is where 65 of our students can attend a week-long camp for free, and it is fun times. And so I think the registration forms went home on Monday, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that today we already reached capacity. And in fact, we had one parent that pulled in and came to central office because she forgot to send it with her kid, and she wanted to make sure that it got time stamped so her child could get in to go to the camp. And so it is just an amazing partnership that we have with Junior Achievement. Look forward to continuing to offer that free enrichment activity for our kids. Wanted to let you know that I spent a couple of hours at WBIR yesterday, but there were 7 area directors in our East region that went and we did a roundtable with John Becker, and it is going to be on Inside Tennessee on Sunday. So we spent about an hour and a half talking with him about our concerns about universal vouchers, and so they will turn that into and do the segments of the hour show for Inside Tennessee on Sunday, but then they are also going to put the full-length interview and our conversation of the 7 directors will be on the website, so you'll be able to see the thing in its entirety. But this was the first time they had ever done anything of this nature, and it was real interesting because John Becker just was able to throw out a posing question about vouchers, but then each of the 7 directors got to talk about it from